Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Real Watchers live stream. My name is Garrett.
And I'm Adrian.
And we are here this week to have some fun. We already have a comment on here from our good friend Kevin, co-host of Movie Club on Real Watchers. Hello, Kevin. Hope you're having a great night. Alrighty. Well, before we jump into anything and talk about fun stuff today, Adrian, how you been?
Good. Busy with work for a bit. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, but for a few weeks it's going to be a little crazy. But good. Otherwise, had a really good weekend and just enjoying life. How about yourself?
There. Glad to hear it. Well, for those of you who don't know, California got hit by a tropical storm on Sunday, which in my area was just a nice day of rain. Wasn't anything too crazy. So, but there's a lot of other places around who have had some serious flooding and stuff. So, hopefully they're all right. But as for me, I'm doing fine. So
that's good to hear. Glad you made it out safe. I think everyone that I kind of talked to from that area pretty much seemed just fine. So, luckily, I know that, like you said, there were areas that were affected, but pretty minimal from overall what I imagined could have been.
Yeah, the storm started to shoot east of where I'm at and kind of hit more inland. So, but hey, California cannot argue with some more water. Let me tell you that. But all righty, well, let's go ahead and jump straight in today with some of our news stories. And we have a comment that's still on the screen. As up first for the stories this week, we officially got titles and release dates for Zack Snyder's new Netflix films entitled Rebel Moon. We did find out that Rebel Moon Part 1 will be called A Child of Fire, and Rebel Moon Part 2 will be called The Scargiver. We also did get the trailer that released today during the Gamescom opening ceremony, as well as release dates. December release date for Part 1 and April for Part 2.
Those are pretty close in date. I was a little surprised by that, but what it made me really wonder why no one's done is do a Part 1 and Part 2 same day release. You can, if you want, you can go to the movies back to back and just see the whole story.
What I really think this boils down to is you don't want to release two things at the same time, because then you're not getting like the most out of your audience for one at a time. I think you should space them out to give people time to ingest it and to reflect, and then they get to see the new one. I think 4 months is actually a good spread of time.
3 weeks.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. 3 weeks is all it takes for Mr.
That's actually, I'm actually defining it. That's the new timeline for Part 1 and Part 2. I'll talk to Zack Snyder later today.
Yeah, go ahead and get him on the phone and ask him why he can't make better movies usually. That's
how I always start my conversations with my friends.
You're like, hey, how's it going? Why aren't you better? I can attest. And Adrian has pushed me to be a better person because of his phone greetings.
Wow. I'm glad that I could affect someone. That's my first feedback. In terms of being a better person, Disney is being sued by a production member over injury during the Little Mermaid shoot. A sculptor fell and broke his wrist, which was actually really shocking because you'd think with the exorbitant amount of water on set that the odds of him falling and breaking something would be pretty small, but apparently he did still get injured, and he's being sued. So, I mean, that's just they're gonna have to pay for that. That's an on-site injury, so that's probably gonna be in his favor.
Yep. I mean, Disney
or their favor. Sorry, I shouldn't say he.
Yeah, I believe it is a she, but maybe I'm misremembering the article. But yeah, I mean, Disney's gonna have to pay out for it, as any company or employer should. So
could be a pretty big payday too, especially being a sculptor and breaking your wrist. Feels like job impairment, like you won't be able to work for a while. So he or she's way of living is impacted, which could be a pretty payday.
100%.
I'll break my wrist. I said it.
I'll do it. Speaking of potentially big paydays, the Writers Guild of America has met with the AMPTP again to potentially put an end to the strikes. This is no shocker. We're going to be probably to the point where they're going to be meeting every other week at this point to try and get this settled. However, apparently the studios and the producers, or the AMPTP, have provided proposals to what the Writers Guild of America has been asking for. The things that they originally said no way to are now on the negotiating table. So we are getting some headway.
Yeah, I think headway is the right term. I don't think they're full like proposals of how we can implement what you want. I think they're meet 20% of the way there kind of proposals. Like, okay, you want this, we'll give you 20% of that kind of thing. So they're budging a bit, but like you said, headway, progress is progress. I don't see agreements coming shortly, but I do see that in the future if we're kind of willing to move like they are right now.
Yeah, and hopefully we get some motion on this soon.
Yeah. And speaking of hopefully getting some motion on this soon, the Nun 2 actor is suing. We really got to group these better, Garrett. 2 suings back to back. 2 Nun actors suing Warner Brothers over alleged hidden revenue from merchandise. Bonnie Aarons, who plays the main nun, is the one that feels like entitlement to all of these merchandising opportunities that have been going on with the Nun that Warner Brothers has allegedly hidden. So this is going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. I'm interested to find out what the hidden merchandising options are, because I feel like there's a couple of main channels that usually happen. So I'm interested to see kind of what she feels is hidden. I'm excited. I don't think she's wrong by any means. I'm just excited to learn more about the business.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what ends up happening with this and if Bonnie is able to get some of the money that she believes she's owed.
Yeah.
So next up, speaking of nothing in particular, Prey, the Predator sequel that hit Hulu last year, is set for a full release, 4K Blu-ray, all that kind of stuff, after a massive fan campaign has lobbied to get the film as a physical release, which I think a lot of Predator fans would probably want that on their shelf next to their other films. I think it's just, I mean, the fact that we have to fight for physical releases now is kind of annoying.
Well, that's right. That was a big concern with Marvel and all of the TV shows. Will those ever see a physical 4K run? And the answer was no. But I'm still holding out hope that with the big box set that comes out after the time that we do get them. But I do think we're seeing that turn away. I think people are turning the other direction on physical releases because I just don't think they're seeing the returns that they used to on them. I think streaming has kind of taken over all of that. And I think that's why we see production streaming channels or streaming networks.
However, we are starting to see the streaming networks, the golden age seems to be falling already. There is rumors that most of the major streaming networks, Disney Plus, Netflix, things like that, will institute mandatory year subscriptions and not month to month.
Interesting. I wonder what the benefit of going year over year is.
I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
But yeah, hopefully this means we do get the Blu-ray of it. I think the movie was great. I think we both thought it was a fantastic turn for the Predator franchise. So I would love to get it on 4K.
Yeah, and since you talked about getting 4K on Blu-ray, our next topic, Human Centipede's director's newest film.
Wrong one.
Oh, we could have just switched. You could have just played it, you know. Travis Scott's film Circus Maximus now available to stream for free on YouTube. And you got a teaser of our next news update.
Yeah. Hopefully no one dies in this film at his concert. Next up, the Human Centipede director, as you got a tease before, has had a new film that has been waiting for a distributor for 4 years, which is surprising because of the success of the Human Centipede films. But also the fact that this new film, which is called the Onania Club, actually reviewed quite highly from screenings from press and test screenings. But it might be due to the fact that it has some controversial content in it. The film is about women who get stimulated through watching suffering and tragedy. And apparently there's a sequence where they get stimulated while watching the 9/11 tapes. So that might not be the best thing to have in your movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jumping all the way back up to The Nun 2 again, it's set to be rated R for terror, violence, and disturbing and bloody images. Makes sense to me.
Sounds about right for the film, but that's going to be the audience after walking out of it. Hopefully not, because the first one was terrible. So hopefully the second one is better at least, and that's not the audience; it's just the characters. And lastly, iconic film director Francis Ford Coppola has screened the first 30 minutes of his new film Megalopolis for iconic director Spike Lee. Apparently, Coppola went down to Atlanta to hang out with Spike Lee and showed him the first 30 minutes of this film, which has been just kind of rumored and in the background for a while. And apparently, from what Spike Lee is saying, it's incredible. So really looking forward to this. We don't know anything about it yet. Hopefully we get it this year. Would be awesome. For those of you who don't know, Coppola is obviously the director of the Godfather films, Apocalypse Now, and a few others that are not as successful, but still pretty decently regarded. But we have a comment from our friend Jose. After the WandaVision Steelbook fiasco, I'm not hopeful for physical releases from Disney. Totally fair. I guess they put out just empty Steelbook cases is what they sold. I did see that they're doing like a Mandalorian Steelbook case, but I don't know if that actually comes with a disc or not.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to appease the people that were like, oh, I want it on my shelf. So they were like, okay, here's the case, which is ridiculous. And then I also know that there were people on TikTok that were burning the episodes and making their, like, printing out their own covers and making their own Blu-rays and all that stuff. I did also hear, Senior Fro, that that those weren't official Marvel releases of those Steelbooks. I think it was like a third party that made them to like jump in on the money potential for it. I'm not positive on that, but I believe I remember hearing that.
Certainly an interesting topic. Would love to, hopefully we get some more news on that soon. I haven't seen anything else regarding it. So, but let's go ahead and jump into the trailers that we got this week. Adrian, did anything jump out to you?
Yeah, a surprising one. Of the ones I watched, She Came to Me actually feels like one of the more interesting films. Just the cast alone, I feel like, is pretty star-studded. So I'm just really interested in kind of seeing them all together. Like, I feel like it's such a kind of hodgepodge of really well-known actors and actresses that I think it sounds really good.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I wasn't really a fan of any of the trailers this week. I hadn't seen She Came to Me actually yet. I do need to watch that one. But the Rebel Moon trailer came out today, and I think that it at least looks intriguing. I think it has a little too much on its sleeve of its inspirations. I think it looks a little too close to Star Wars and Dune, and there's a little bit of Warhammer in there too. Like, I think it looks a little too much like it's drawing off inspirations, but I don't want to judge it too soon. I do think it looks at least a little bit original in some regards. I just think that the visual effects really need to get kicked up before release because they do not look good.
Yeah, no, completely agree. I think I was a little underwhelmed by the trailer, or I don't want to say that. Like, it felt exciting, but like you said, it also felt like I've seen this before. Yeah. Like, I think it just felt a little too familiar for something that's supposed to be groundbreakingly new.
Yeah, and one of the things I could easily tell is that apparently this was supposed to be, or this was the script that Zack Snyder pitched to Lucasfilm to do as a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
And then had to retool the whole thing because they denied doing the film and ended up making it his own thing, which, I mean, props to him for writing an original universe from having to do that from a script that wasn't original. But I mean, we'll see what it comes out. It could be one of those things where it's actually like really good. And I wouldn't put money on it. It's Zack Snyder, but you know, you never know. We do have some comments that come in. Wet Pajama. Hi everyone. Hello.
That's
Pajama.
Joe. Hey Joe.
How's it going, Joe? Anyone watching Ahsoka tonight? Yes, I was actually watching the first episode right before this, like 20 minutes into it, and had to stop because we had the live stream. So far, so good though. Actually, it actually feels really different than the other TV shows.
That's
kind of like Andor did. So we'll see if it carries through.
Yeah.
Cassidy, when are we going to get to Real Watchers merch?
As soon as we can afford the production costs. So get us to that. There. We can't even afford the Glizzy contest yet. But I mean, hopefully one day. I definitely have a ton of ideas.
64% of the way there.
And I mean, the fact that like the initials of the channel, as well as what it's spelled, like there's a lot of really good opportunities for merch. It's just about getting to the point where that makes sense for us. But thanks for the question, and we're glad you're interested. Maybe we'll do we'll make one hat and then we'll auction it off, or we'll spin the wheel for it of everyone in attendance.
Or we'll do a bulk order of shirts that in Comic Sans just says, we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be our catchphrase. Cassidy says, put me on the marketing team.
You're on it. Let's get merch next week. I need enough to support
we need
channel.
At least 3,000 subscribers next week. I mean, we can do it. No, I'm just kidding. All righty. Well, thank you for the comments. Let's go ahead and jump into my section of the show, which is where we talk about the movies that I watched over the last week. And this week there were some interesting ones. So let's go ahead and get them out of the way. Up first was Kill Bill Volume 1, directed by Quentin Tarantino, of course, gave it a 76 out of 100. Kill Bill is an exercise in excess, an excess of style and violence. While it does veer into style over substance territory, the film is fun enough that it outweighs that concern. But the final fight in the Blue Leaves is incredible. If you haven't seen that film, that final fight is worth the entire time. Then, Kill Bill Volume 2. It doesn't feel nearly as iconic as the first, but Kill Bill Volume 2 is still a fun ride. While it's longer and not as exciting 100% of the time, it does have a great final showdown. In addition, while the first film was style over substance, this felt the opposite, and not particularly in a great way. It's fine, but nowhere near Tarantino's best work. So I give it a 72 out of 100. After that, one of my favorite films, actually, which is District 9, gave it a 92 out of 100. It still amazes me that this little film from South Africa was nominated for Best Picture. It's fully deserved, as District 9 has a distinctness and a voice all its own. While its third act feels a little familiar, its characters and world make it much better. The film also exudes societal importance, and I wish more people would experience the message the film has. Highly recommend District 9 if you can get it, if you can check it out somewhere. Yeah, Adrian, I know Adrian likes this one as well. 1 Hour Photo was the next one, giving it a 78 out of 100. Impeccably acted by Robin Williams and with impressive direction. I just wish that any of the other characters were as interesting as Cy, who's the character Robin Williams plays in the film. When he's not on screen, the film suffers, but when he's on it, it thrives. So that was on Hulu, I believe, if you want to check out that film. Very interesting. Kind of a good gap between artsy and more mainstream, if you want something that's a little bit outside the norm. Next up was The Big Lebowski. This movie thrives on its characters and puts them into the craziest situations. It's often funny, but it's because of the characters and not the story. The plot is a little aimless and formulaic, but it's lifted because of the characters and their performances. And finally, Action Point, which is a Johnny Knoxville stunt film kind of based on the true story of Action Park. While I love Johnny Knoxville's stunts and the seemingly awesome time the production had, the film is filled with terrible gross-out jokes, a formulaic plot, and the whole film is just generally forgettable. I probably laughed more during the credit bloopers than I did during the actual film.
I mean, that's tough when that happens in a movie, because that's so fun. The bloopers, and you're almost like, why couldn't they just make this the movie? Like, I feel like that's just so much better.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been much better if they kind of ditched the plot and just did crazy shenanigans that happened at this park, or maybe like blended it in with a documentary and like recreated some of the insane stuff about Action Park with Johnny Knoxville and the Jackass guys, but it unfortunately wasn't that way.
Like, they literally could have been like, oh, we have reports of this type of roller coaster, so we built it, and like now we're gonna go on it. Like, make it a little different. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. But if you want to see any of those reviews or anything else that I've reviewed in the past, you can go to Letterboxd, and that is my username on the screen. So you can see what I thought of them in real time.
Awesome. Well, enough about what Garrett did watch. A lot of people like to go to the movies that watch us, which makes sense. So coming out this weekend, if you're looking to go to the movies, we have Gran Turismo, the based on a true story movie, coming out on the 25th. To wide release, so you can catch it pretty much anywhere. This is like pretty much one of those big blockbuster movies. If you're not familiar, the film follows the ultimate wish fulfillment tale of a teenage Gran Turismo player whose gaming skills won a series of Nissan competitions that led him to become an actual professional race car driver. And if that sounds like absolute fantasy, it actually happened. That's kind of like what's so crazy about it. And if you're not familiar, Gran Turismo is I'm about to say the definition, but it's like Forza for Xbox. It's like a racing simulator game that prides itself on being really hyper accurate. So that's kind of why the transition was possible. Next, coming out on the 25th, also to wide release, we have The Hill, the remarkable true life story of Ricky Hill's improbable journey to play Major League Baseball. Dennis Quaid is in this film. That's pretty fun. Also coming out on Friday to wide release, we have The Retirement Plan, the new Nicolas Cage movie. In Retirement Plan, when Ashley and her younger daughter, Sarah, get caught up in a criminal enterprise that puts their lives at risk, she turns to the only person who can help her. Her estranged father, Matt, played by Nicolas Cage, currently living the life of a retired beach bum in the Cayman Islands. If that doesn't sound like the greatest Nicolas Cage film, I don't know what does. This one has a pretty star-studded cast that looks really exciting and looks right up Nick Cage's alley. Then coming out to moderate release, we have Liam Neeson, his new movie, Retribution. A bank executive receives a bomb threat while driving his children to school that his car will explode if they stop and get out. A remake of a 2015 Spanish film, El Desconocido. Desconocido is how I believe that's said, and you can quote me on that. And also coming out to limited release, we have Bottoms. 2 unpopular queer high school students start a fight club to have sex before graduation. If that sounds like a crazy movie, it looks like a crazy movie if you look up the poster. And then last but not least, we do have Scrapper or Scraper. This is being really highly regarded. It's coming out to limited release on Friday. It currently has a 7.3 on IMDb and a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. Georgie, a dreamy 12-year-old girl, lives happily alone in her London flat filled with magic. Suddenly, her estranged father turns up and forces her to confront reality. This one seems like a really kind of like a drama comedy type of thing, but it seems like a coming of age story and coming to terms with society and your inner demons and all that stuff, and it's really highly regarded. So I might try to check this one out if there's a theater near me playing it.
Alrighty. Awesome to hear about some of that fun stuff. We do have a comment that came in from Cassidy. The Little Breakfast?
I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. That's some sort of 80s movie I've never heard of. I don't know.
Is that what she calls Dennis Quaid?
Yeah, he's little Bede was.
She's saying friend. El Desconocido. She's saying, is that the Little Breakfast? It's spelled EL space DESCONOCIDO. And I imagine that's the movie currently. Now it's called Retribution, the Liam Neeson film. So I don't know. I could look it up for you. Let's find out. That's fun. Let's find out.
Let's go on an internet journey with Adrian. Oh, excuse me. Pardon me.
Oh, instead of in English, I accidentally searched full movie, and it is available. It stands for The Unknown.
Cassidy says, "Oh, not Little Breakfast." Very good to know. Alrighty, that's enough about what's coming out this weekend. Let's go ahead and talk about what's coming or what happened last weekend. And surprisingly, Barbie has been dethroned in the top of the box office order. We had Blue Beetle coming in with a $25 million debut, which is probably twice as high as we reported that it was rumored to be debuting as. We also have Barbie in second place with $21 million. Oppenheimer in third place with $10.7 million. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem with $8.5 million in fourth place. And Strays debuting in fifth with $8.2 million. So a fun weekend at the box office for sure.
Yeah.
Joey, Garrett, please review Dead Poets Society. Well, you're going to have to put that into the Wheel of Fate.
Dang.
Coming up here in just a moment.
Can't go around the system.
You can't will it into being, unfortunately. I am a servant of fate, which we will have decide for us in just a moment. But Adrian, I have a question for you before we jump in to the Wheel of Fate. Do you like surprises?
Yeah.
Would you like a surprise?
Sure.
Well, for all those of you who are watching, if you go to our YouTube channel, we actually had a brand new video that went live right at 7 o'clock when the live stream happened. And Adrian didn't know that this existed. So, yeah.
Oh my God, it's born of me.
I wish.
Okay.
No, actually, there is a new video on the channel. I was inspired by a couple other smaller YouTube content creators, and so I created a film called The 150 Films That Remind Me Why I Love Film. It's kind of an answer to, Garrett, what's your favorite movies of all time? What's your top 10? And I overdid it with 150. So go ahead, check it out. It is, if you're ever looking for something to watch, you can just go to that video and kind of set the video to random and just watch whatever it lands on. So a lot of work, a lot of love, a lot of time went into it. So go ahead and check it out.
Very, very nice.
So, alrighty. And with that, we're already getting some comments in. It's time for the Wheel of Fate. I thought the music would be a little bit more exciting when I said
It
Wheel
will
of
be.
Fate. Jose, so what's your top 10? You'll have to watch the video and you'll see it 15 times. Alrighty. There's actually been some changes since you've seen that, Jose. Alrighty. Go ahead and get those comments in. We can get them into the Wheel of Fate. And while Adrian is doing that, I'll go ahead and talk about the films that I watched last week as a part of the Wheel of Fate. So, one of the films that was recommended by our good friend Nadia from Horror and More was Ouija Shark 2, a very low-budget movie available to rent on Amazon. Gave it a 15 out of 100. I said that there is a charm to this film that's hard to ignore. Yes, it's a really poorly made film and lacks any kind of consistency in its plot, has boring characters that are poorly acted, and is just really ugly. But where this film earns points is its heart. It's clearly made by people who love film and are not setting out to make an Oscar Best Picture frontrunner. They made the film they wanted, how they wanted, and they have to at least respect that. It wasn't a good movie. I wouldn't recommend it, but they had fun with it, and I can tell that through the screen. The other film that was recommended last week, the second one out of 3, was given to us by our good friend Danelle, and that was Where the Crawdads Sing. I know this has been in the running every week since we started doing the Wheel of Fate. I said that Where the Crawdads Sing gets a 50 out of 100. I said that aside from the incredible atmosphere and a pretty good performance from Daisy Edgar-Jones, the film suffers from a mystery that's just really not that exciting, at least in my opinion, and side characters that are just incredibly one-note cardboard cutouts. The ending is fine. I actually appreciated what happens at the end, but the rest of the film is just a little bit of a slog to get through, so I did give it a 50. Also, if you ever hear the term generic white male, it's every love interest that Daisy Edgar-Jones has in the movie. I couldn't tell any of them apart. And lastly, we come to the third movie, which was recommended by our friend Nadia from Horror and More, and that was Norbit from 2007, starring Eddie Murphy. And we have a new crowning champion, Adrian. Probably the worst film I've ever seen. I have never turned off a film because I couldn't watch it.
You didn't finish Norbit?
No, I did. Because I paid for the rental. I paid for the rental. But so when you start a rental on Amazon Prime, you have like 48 hours once you hit play or whatever. And so I started watching it the first day. After 5 or 10 minutes, I had to turn it off. It was terrible.
Wow.
I had to get back the next day and gave it another shot, made it another 10 minutes, turned it off. And then on the last day, I had to watch it. So I buckled up and watched the other hour and a half or whatever. And it was probably the single worst film experience I've ever had. My complete review says that it is a complete irredeemable mess. The fact that anyone attached still has a career is mind-boggling. Norbit easily ranks among the most uncomfortable, unfunny, and downright terrible film experiences I've ever sat through. I'm begging you, please don't watch this. For the love of whatever you worship or hold dear, please do not watch this horrible excuse for film.
Unfortunately, that's part of being a film buff, is you gotta watch them all.
You gotta watch them all. It's like Pokemon. But not every Pokemon can be Pikachu. You gotta get a couple of, I don't know, Pidgeys in there. I don't know. Whichever Pokemon's useless. It's been too long since I've been into the minutia of Pokemon usability. But yeah, do not watch this movie. It's terrible. But other than that, that was it for the movies we watched last week, Adrian. So what is on the chopping block this week?
First off, how many are we thinking? And we'll leave it open for another 15 seconds for any last minute entries.
I'm thinking 2 this week. It's fun to do 3 every once in a while, but I gotta say, This week was a little bit busier for me, and I didn't have as much free time to watch movies, so it was a little bit of a I had to leave like a family event kind of earlier than I would have liked to. Oh darn, I gotta go watch a movie, and it turned out being Norbit, so I probably should have stayed at my parents' house for dinner.
From now
one
on,
night.
we'll just do 2, and then if you do a third one, it'll be a surprise.
There we go.
All right.
Alrighty.
And last second, do you have a quick question for who is this? Cassidy Eddie. Nothing in Common. Is that the name of a movie, or are you saying that all of your movies star Tom Hanks, and that you're claiming they have nothing in common? Janelle, he has already seen Paddington Bear. We have rated them both as one of our top movies of all time. Okay. I've entered Nothing in Common. And we will now lock entries while I get my screen set up. All right, and let me know if you can see it. Can we all see it?
We can see it.
All right, and now I'm going to shuffle. Everything is random in this house. And now we will spin the wheel. First movie is The Polar Express, with Cassidy continuing her run of getting movies suggested. All right, and we'll pop this out and we'll shuffle some more. Second film is Big Trouble in Little China, 1986.
Jose. I saw that submission. Thank you.
And there you have it, friends. Garrett's 2 movies.
2 movies with so much in common that it's kind of nuts. Big Trouble in Little China and what was the other one?
Polar Express.
Polar Express. 2 very similar movies. I will get those onto my viewing list. I did see a couple of movies on that were what's it called? Ones we already covered, but I'm glad we didn't land on them.
Yeah.
A couple of, let's look through some of these comments and see if there's anything in here. Senior Fro, I believe I've seen Desperado, but I haven't seen El Mariachi, so I actually would be interested to see El Mariachi. Danelle says, yeehaw, I'll take a 50. I liked it a little bit more than I thought I was going to, but I still wouldn't say it's an incredible mystery film. I think it was just very, I'd probably rather read the book. I've heard the book's supposed to be pretty good, so I'll probably read the book instead. Any other comments here? Danelle says, darn it. Hey, can't always win with the Wheel of Fate.
I think she was mad that you've already seen Paddington Bear.
Well, that too. Jose, hooray, I got one. You did! And Cassidy says congrats as well. Unfortunately, we didn't get the football film that I know Jose kept requesting, but the World Cup is over, so he said he would not recommend it while the World Cup was not in session.
Wow, a timely movie. You love to see him.
Gotta love it. I'm actually, speaking of soccer, I was looking forward to the new Taika Waititi film that's coming out later this year about the New Zealand soccer team. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty funny, actually. But, that's it for everything that we had scheduled for the show. It was a pretty quick one this week. Adrian, what have you been watching over the last week?
Haven't been watching too much. Been pretty booked for the most part, but we did get a chance to... it was a rewatch for me, but a first watch, I think. She doesn't know, but we watched Life with Ryan Reynolds and...
Oh, yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought it held up better than I remember it being. I feel like on the second pass through, it held up more than I thought it did.
Okay.
So that was actually really fun to watch. Definitely a pretty bone-cracking movie. So if that's a trigger for you, maybe stay away. There's a lot of bodies that don't go the way they should in that movie. But great alien design. And other things that I've been doing, I've been trying to read when I have a chance. I've been playing Pokemon Go. If anyone has a shiny Feebas, I'll take it off your hands. I'll trade you. And I've been playing Pikmin Bloom. Got that going pretty strong. And yeah, just kind of hanging out. How about yourself?
I mean, just obviously the movies that I watch every week, which I talk about those, so I don't need to reiterate those here. I did start watching the Ahsoka premiere, which premiered early, so I'll be watching both those episodes as soon as I'm done here, actually. And then, other than that, just been playing a little bit of video games. Got to make sure I pre-install Starfield before that comes out in 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I won't have any time off to request from work to play it, but really excited about that. I've been playing a lot online with you and with our good friends Kevin and Nadia and several others. So been kind of nice to play video games again after not really playing online for several months. And then that's really about it. Trying to read a little bit more still, but depends on when I have time.
Hey, no pressure.
Cassidy says, "Rip to Dead Poets Society." Literally. Well, Joey tempted fate, and you can't do that. You can't will the fates to be the way you want them to be.
Terminator said it best.
Yes, and Paddington, if I believe correctly. Maybe I'm misremembering that film. Speaking of Paddington 2, that is actually on the video that just went live.
There you go. I keep telling Danelle and Joe that we got to have a Paddington viewing party, and it keeps getting postponed. And I keep telling them they're missing out on the best movies ever, and they don't believe me. But they're really good.
I will argue the second one is better than the first.
That's what I've been saying. Yeah.
But I'm not saying that in no way is saying that the first movie is bad. It's very good.
It's too. Like if the first one got an A, the second one got an A+. Like they perfected the second one.
Yeah, it's like Aliens, it's like Godfather Part 2, it's like Terminator 2. They got it right the second time around.
Yeah.
Excited for whatever they do with the third one, though.
Yeah.
Joey says, my captain. Well, won't be saying that next week because you tempted fate and it wasn't selected. Sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, new video is awesome. It's probably about 26 minutes long. About 10 seconds of footage for each film that's on the top 150 for me. And goes by pretty quickly, actually. So,
a little bit of a teaser here. I'm just going to jump to a random time, and this is you could tell me what number this is, or if it's just on the list arbitrarily. But Sicario made it on the list, the 2015 movie by Denis Villeneuve.
Yes, Sicario is on the list. It doesn't have a number because everything is on there arbitrarily. Everything was randomly selected. There is no order on that list, except for the very last film, which I would probably say is the best and my favorite film. So, a little bit of a spoiler there. Also, the video does contain what I consider to be probably my favorite quote from any film ever. It doesn't say the quote during the movie. It plays the clip, though. So, if anyone points it out in the comments, you'll get an arbitrary point from me because I don't have anything to give you. But you'll get a thumbs up and a heart on the little comment section.
Wow, nice. That's great.
But anyhow, we also good to announce I have a new video trilogy that I'm working on. We have, like we did the animated film trilogy. We've got another one coming out about music. So very excited about that. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. So when that goes live, you get the notification for it. But Adrian, if anyone else wants to, follow us online, where can they do that?
Yeah, Real Watchers, wherever you want, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube. If you're watching us and you liked what you heard/saw and you want to see more of it, we post every Tuesday, or we go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. And then we post videos. We have the Real Watchers Movie Club that comes out every Friday. And then we also have a bunch of videos like today that Garrett puts a lot of time into that just adds to kind of our library and extensive movie knowledge. So Real Watchers everywhere, and then make sure to hit like and subscribe again to catch those live notifications that we are live. And we do weekly news, so if you want the most up-to-date news, make sure to follow here. But if Twitch is your thing, we're also over there, so make sure to follow us over there.
That is absolutely correct.
And on TikTok soon, before Garrett gets to say it. He's working on a couple of videos that we should be going live. Last week he said pretty soon, so pretty exciting stuff in the works.
Yeah, 2 different series I'm working on. So one's going to be more trivia focused. The other one is going to be a little more educational. So it should be kind of fun. Cassidy does chime in and say, the Real Watchers merch would say, I'd die for Paddington on the front pocket. I feel like it'd be really cool if it said that like in Japanese. So like, it's like an inside thing. You only know what it means, but everyone else just assumes that you're a weeb.
That's fun.
I like that. I'd wear it.
I think it'd be fun to have the quotes of, without spoiling anything, but the chef from Paddington 2. Just a lot of the things he said, it'd be fun to have any of those quotes printed out on a shirt.
There's so many good quotes, or like just kind of things that I would like to have printed on a shirt.
My
I think
favorite,
I sent you.
but I'm a bear. Never gets old.
Hey, make sure you go to the right club. You might get some free drinks for that. Just saying.
Yeah.
Well, if you have any other comments, anything else, comments, concerns, criticisms, anything like that, go ahead and throw them into the comments section. We'd love to chit chat with you for a little bit. Today was a little bit of a shorter stream, not as much news. So
it's okay. Sometimes the world's slow, you know. Sometimes there's not that much to update on.
I think we're just starting to see some of the kind of fallouts of the strikes. There's not a lot of news is getting pumped out.
It's a lot of what people don't really think about is starting up something like a movie news podcast when movie news stops happening. It can be a bit tough, you know. So soon we may transition to like Olympic sports channel. We just don't really know what direction we'll head in if they don't form an agreement. So
it's very true. We have no idea. I mean, if we aren't getting any movies anytime soon, who knows if we'll even be here? Maybe we'll get picked up by the WGA and we can't physically do this stream
because they'll cut our hands off.
That, and they will refuse to buy our glizzies. Speaking of which, if we get to 100 subscribers, we will do that hot dog eating competition, glizzy eating contest. Adrian says he can eat 5.
4. Don't hype me up. I did
4.
say 5 originally, but I have rescinded my initial offer.
And I said I can do half of that with 2. So we'll see who's correct and who's Garrett. And then 150 subscribers, we're doing a drunk stream. So that'll be pretty fun.
Definitely.
Alrighty. Looks like it's pretty quiet in the comment section, so we can probably go ahead and have an early night tonight. Go out and enjoy some fun stuff. You gonna get some dinner after this?
Yeah, I haven't eaten, and I didn't really eat that much today. I only had like a little chomp stick today at work. So
what's a chomp stick?
They're like a significantly better for you Slim Jim. They're they're like all natural and all that stuff, and they're way less calories and stuff. So more like solid protein than just like the badness of. I'm not knocking Slim Jim. Road trip, catch me with a Slim Jim in my hand. But for day to day, definitely chomps. They sell them pretty much everywhere now.
Okay. I don't know why, but I was thinking almost like one of those things where it's almost like a giant like flauta, like a really thin stick with like meat and stuff inside, but like it's like fried on the outside. I don't know what I was thinking, but
Danelle says flavorless. Yeah, I would agree. They're pretty minimal in flavor, but it's more. That's not really the focus for me when eating them. I think they're more for sustained energy throughout the day. It's almost like if I were to eat like a protein bar, like they're not the most delicious thing in the world, but you eat them because they work for you. So I agree.
Well, there you have it. Ending our movie stream on the chopstick. Gotta love it. But thank you everyone for joining us. We will be live next Tuesday at 7 p.m. as always, unless something were to happen. But we'll be here. Hopefully there's a little bit more news next week, a little bit more fun stuff to talk about. We got the Wheel of Fate, which is always a lot of fun. So make sure you tune in for that. And again, before we go, brand new video just went live on the channel, and we have our brand new episode of Movie Club coming out on Friday, which we'll be covering The Silence of the Lambs. So if you do want to get in on that discussion and kind of what Kevin and I are talking about, you can watch Silence of the Lambs on Max if you want to watch it before then. But that's about it. So thank you everyone for watching, and until next time, keep sure to keep your eyes on the screen. Have a good one.